All right, let's just dive right into this explainer and explore something I guarantee we all do but rarely talk about: those incredibly detailed, totally fake conversations we have in our own heads. We're going to unpack the fascinating science behind why our minds actually do this. And to help us out, we're using a fun little Stickman character to perfectly capture what's going on inside our brains when we, completely zone out. So get comfortable because we're heading into the busy, noisy, and honestly, sometimes hilarious world of your own imagination. So I want you to picture this scenario for a second. Have you ever completely, totally won an argument that never actually happened? You're standing there and you deliver the absolute perfect comeback. The logic? Flawless. The delivery? Just impeccable. In your mind's eye, everyone around you suddenly breaks into applause. You are the undisputed champion. Right up until the moment you blink, open your eyes to reality, and realize you haven't spoken a single word out loud. Our stickman here perfectly illustrates this, right? In his mind, he is having this epic, triumphant mental victory. He is totally in the zone. But objective reality? He's just lying alone in bed, wide awake, staring at the ceiling at 2:43 a.m. If you have ever found yourself whispering a genius retort to a dark, completely empty bedroom, I promise you, you are definitely not alone. It's a wildly common human experience. Section 1. The montage of the mind. You see, this mental theater doesn't just happen at 2 a.m. It follows us everywhere, turning completely mundane, everyday moments into these dramatic, cinematic montages inside our heads. Take our stickman, just going about his morning, maybe walking to school or commuting to work. Internally, his brain is constantly creating dialogue. Right now, he's imagining explaining something deeply important to his teacher or maybe a mentor, and he is articulating his points perfectly. Our brains are relentlessly churning out these scripts, placing us in scenarios where we're the focal point, carefully explaining our perspective to an imagined audience of one. But then, suddenly, the mental channel changes. Now he's imagining talking to his crush. He's charming, he's witty, maybe he's defending his honor, or he's just trying to impress them with a perfect little anecdote. The stakes in these mental simulations feel incredibly high, even though the whole shebang is happening entirely within a thought bubble while he's literally just walking down a sidewalk. And then, of course, the brain escalates the scale. Our stickman is now visualizing the ultimate perfect future. He's standing at a podium, giving this profound, life-altering speech to a massive, applauding crowd of thousands. The rush, the validation, the success, it's all playing out in vivid, high-definition detail. We all have these moments of grandiosity, right? Where we imagine ourselves at the absolute pinnacle of our potential, just addressing the masses. But let's snap back to reality for a second. The objective truth is our stickman is literally just walking down the street. And that's kind of the sheer humor in all of this. We frequently invest immense emotional energy into arguing with, explaining things to, or impressing people who have absolutely no idea they're even starring in our imagination. The external world just sees a quiet person walking to work, while the internal world is hosting a full-blown TED Talk. Section 2. Your brain's rehearsal studio. So why do we actually do this? Well, think of the mind as an incredibly busy construction site. Picture tiny stickman workers inside your head wearing little hard hats, frantically building different sets, like a classroom, an office, maybe a dinner table, just to prepare you for whatever might happen next. It all comes down to a formal psychological process called mental rehearsal. This is simply the brain's process of preparing by mentally practicing possible future situations. The core reason we conjure up these fake conversations is that our brains simply love to prepare. Your brain is essentially a prediction machine, and it wants you to be ready for absolutely any social challenge that might come your way. Your brain basically acts as a director, constantly running through a what-if blueprint. Think about it. What if someone asks you a difficult question in that upcoming meeting? What if you finally meet that person you really admire in the elevator? Or what if you experience a major disagreement with a friend later today? Your brain starts practicing and drafting these responses long before those scenarios ever actually happen. It's building the blueprint so that if the moment finally arrives, you aren't caught off guard. Section 3. Simulating social reality. Now, our imagination often goes a step further to explore possibilities, creating this playful, almost absurd contrast between the roar of stadium applause we hear in our minds and the mundane sound of reality, which is usually just standing over the sink brushing your teeth. And there's a solid scientific consensus behind why these imaginary conversations feel so surprisingly real to us. First, we simulate to understand people. By running a simulation of someone else's reactions, we build empathy and try to figure out how they tick. Second, we plan our responses, testing out different dialogue options to see which one works best. And third, we process emotions. It's a really safe way for your brain to explore and just discharge those complex feelings.
Section 4. Is this normal?
Which brings us to a very important and probably reassuring question. Is it actually healthy to spend your commute silently conversing with mental versions of a friend, your boss, a parent, or even a future version of yourself? The short answer is yes, absolutely. These simulations act as incredibly helpful tools. They allow us to prepare for upcoming interactions so we feel confident. They give us a space to reflect on past events, to figure out what we should have said. And most importantly, they help us make sense of difficult emotions in a completely private, safe mental sandbox. Now, that being said, there is a gentle caveat to keep in mind here. While mental rehearsal is a standard, built-in feature of the human brain, if you find that these simulations are becoming too frequent, if they're causing you significant distress, or if they start interfering with your actual daily life, well, that's when it shifts from being a helpful tool to a potential burden. In those cases, it may be really helpful to talk with a mental health professional to help untangle those thought loops.
Section 5. Always practicing.
As we bring this explainer to a close, let's zoom out to a macro, almost cosmic perspective on this deeply human habit. We are all just walking around, navigating our days, hosting entire simulated universes inside our minds. So remember this, your brain is always practicing. The next time you catch yourself deeply invested in a conversation that never even happened, don't feel embarrassed. Your mind is simply looking out for you. It's just trying to prepare you for the conversations that someday will happen. So I'll turn it over to you to reflect on your own mental rehearsals. What is the absolutely longest fake conversation you've ever had in your head? Really think about it, because I guarantee you've got a blockbuster movie playing up there right now. Keep exploring, and thanks for joining me on this explain.